All right, Kari, it's great to meet you. Thank you for taking a minute out today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah, you bet. So before we get into your life as the devoted explorer, I want to know first and foremost, 5 years ago, this pandemic started, threw everything into a tailspin. How did you make it through that time period, and how has living through that influenced the way that you live life today?
Oh man, the good old pandemic.
Yeah,
Um, I think it's in our story, it's kind of important to back up a little bit that just a year and a half prior to that time, we lived in Washington State. So we had recently just picked up our lives and moved across the country, which for us was a huge move.
yeah,
Um, my husband and I were both born and raised in Washington State. We had been there our whole lives, our family, our support system, everything, and just kind of made this decision and this leap of faith, and we moved all the way to Northwest Arkansas. And so we felt like we were still adjusting to that and still really just getting settled into a new rhythm here. And then, bam, we're back in a place of disruption.
yeah.
And so I'm not going to lie, it was definitely hard. I had four kids at home who were trying to do remote school. And I took the first year after our move off of work to get everybody settled and adjusted in our new place. And so that was the first year here that I had gone back to work too as a speech therapist. And so I ended up having to pivot remotely um, out of the home while my kids were also doing school virtually at home. And then my husband still needed to go into work every day. And so it was a lot. We we made it work. I definitely fought like my own uncertainty and fear through that time, and just prayed a lot for wisdom in decisions that we needed to make with such limited and sometimes conflicting information. And it was heartbreaking to um, see the kids and the pain that they had in, when things get canceled in their lives. Like it was heartbreaking to watch them try to process that. They felt like they were missing out on a lot of things in their lives and look things they were looking forward to, or celebrations, especially towards the end of the school year, that all got canceled, that they couldn't do anymore.
Yeah.
And so I just felt like I worked really hard during that time to embrace that time as a family and reinforce that we weren't alone and that we had each other to lean on each other, and that we could do hard things together. So tried my best to look for the silver lining in all of this with them. And I felt they might have a different perspective and a different story of that time, but I felt it was truly a time of connection in our household. I felt like we weren't going a million different directions,
Sure.
so we could get outside more together. I was more involved in their school because they had to have PE and art sessions and different things. So I would try to do all of that. We would go down in our workout room and we would do more of that together. And then, like, they actually got sick of being on their computers all the time and plugged in. And so I was like, tried to embrace that too, like just like the old days, like being creative and in what to do when they're like looking for something else to do besides staying on their computers. So that was kind of the silver lining of all of it to me. Um, and then also, it like probably around 2021, when things were still pretty shut down, we kind of did some family research together and faced our traveling unknowns and fears. And we researched places with different, less restrictions, and ended up going to Iceland.
Wow.
And it became one of our like most treasured favorite family trips.
Wow. I just had a friend that went there recently, and just said it was amazing. Um, in fact, Rainn Wilson, Dwight from The Office, has a series where he travels around the world and he tries to find who's the happiest. And Iceland's one of the happiest countries on the planet.
Oh my gosh, I need to see that. I have not seen
Yeah,
that, but I love shows like that. And
yeah,
I think 100%
yeah.
yes, because it is so
Oh,
beautiful
yeah,
and you have such diverse landscape there. And we went when it was their summer season. So it wasn't, I know it can get really cold and icy there, but we went at a time when we could be out and it was daylight the majority of the day, even into the night. So we would find ourselves like just out at 1 o'clock in the morning, still exploring
yeah.
all the different things, with the kids. And yeah, it was incredible.
That's
I
great
highly recommend
for
going.
sure. So let me ask you this. If I put you in front of a bunch of grade school kids right now, sixth graders, it's career day. The kid in the back of the room is like, hey, what do you do for a living? How do you answer him?
Well, luckily, I would say that probably most of them are familiar with a speech therapist because there's likely one at their school.
Yeah,
So I would ask who their speech therapist was at their school and kind of draw that connection for them that is what I have done for work and that I just help students and other kids just like them to learn how to communicate more effectively and that's what I went to school for and that's where I worked for a couple decades. Then I'd also say that I love to write and I'm an author and just recently released my first book and that I volunteer to help develop a school in West Africa and explain to them that while school for them is a normal expected part of life, that it's not like that everywhere in the world and kids in different parts of the world have to overcome a lot of obstacles to be able to go to school, let alone a good school.
yeah. So what did you want to be in the sixth grade? What was your dream life?
Well, first of all, this question probably would have stressed me out as a kid because I wanted to have all the answers and I wanted to know and it made me really nervous. My sixth grade teacher even told me I was going to give myself an ulcer from worrying so much. I was just a worry wart, but undoubtedly, I would say I would have said I wanted to be a veterinarian or a dolphin trainer,
Okay.
something with animals.
Yeah, for sure. So how take me back to your childhood. How did speech therapy, being an adventurer, traveling, writing, how did all of these things, these seeds get planted to become who you are today?
Hmm, that's a good question. Well, uh, from the very beginning, I uh, entered the world 6 weeks early. So I was premature and was in an incubator. So my parents, I was 4 pounds, 4 ounces, which, then at that time that was pretty small and challenging. So being in this incubator, my parents, described living at the hospital and having to like reach in through the incubator, that it was so hard to not be able to really touch me or cuddle with me or anything. So um, I guess I've always been small and had fight in me because, my parents just said how I kind of fought through that time and made it out. And um, I grew up as a middle child. So I had an older sister and a younger brother, and the most loving, encouraging parents that one could ask for. So my mom was mostly a stay at home mom. And she would say that she was living her dream doing that that's all she ever wanted to do was to be a mom. And she also had some years, though, where she worked as a preschool teacher. And so, um, and wanted to support other parents and their kids. And so she loved books with her preschool teaching and was always creating visuals to go along with the books when she would have her story time. And so we got to test all of those visuals out with her, before she would take them into the classroom. And so reading together was always a really special time together in our house. And I think that this definitely instilled in me at a younger age the love of reading books and the creativity that they can stir in your soul. And probably most likely had part in me writing my first book. And then my dad was a teacher, and he spent many years too in special education and then in administration as a principal, and most recently has been involved in school improvement plans, helping schools get on track with different things. He also was highly involved in coaching. So he coached a lot of baseball and volleyball at the high school. And then as we got older and were involved in sports, sometimes he was also involved in coaching our sports. And then we would also to have special family days at the YMCA and exercise together. And then we would be treated with Taco Bell burritos when we finished, which for us was like a special time
Yeah,
because mom always cooked us homemade meals. So going out and it sounds silly, but having a Taco Bell burrito was like a special treat.
sure.
So I just think all of this between both of them really taught me the value of education and working with and supporting vulnerable populations and physical fitness. And so, with all of that, I think my work as a speech pathologist, my passion for helping develop a school in a remote town in West Africa, and my crazy pursuits to push myself in these physical endeavors like Ironman races, I think that all fits into it. And then we did travel some as a family too, since they were both teachers, they had summers off. And so we mostly stayed in the country, but we would take a lot of road trips. We would go camping a lot and spent a lot of time. Our extended family was in California and we were in Washington. So we would do a lot of driving road trips to California to be with our extended family and spent time at the beach. And I just remember my dad always saying when we would get in the car, like, we're off on another adventure. And so, each time we'd pull out of the driveway, like that's what we'd be ready for the next adventure. And so I know that that also plays a role in my desire to adventure and be outdoors and travel to new places.
So, what was your favorite book growing up?
Oh man, we had so many books that we would read, but my favorite probably was Corduroy, the bear.
Yeah,
He was always a favorite in our house. And then around Christmas time, it was the gingerbread boy
yeah,
and all of his adventures that we would do a lot of things with.
cool. So,
Yeah.
talk to me about your book.
So, yeah, Dormant Faith is kind of, I think it's been a work in progress for years, just in working through challenges of my own life and my faith journey. And then what I've experienced and seen in going to West Africa and being involved in developing this Christian school there and amongst a Muslim population, just the challenges there and having the testimonies of the people who live there who are Christians and the challenges and the true persecution that they face. And then also here in the Western world, kind of being involved in church leadership and growing, facing the challenges in the church of helping people really live out their faith too, and helping them feel confident in what God has for them. So my book kind of walks through some of those stories that have developed in my life and some of my personal stories, but also just an encouragement to others to keep searching and seeing what God has for them in their lives and sharing their faith in their actions and in their words.
So, who's been kind of the heroes for you in your life?
Well, I would say many people. It takes a village.
Sure.
It really does. And I have been blessed with an incredible village. I'm inspired by a lot of people just who took the time out of their busy lives to invest in me. So obviously, going through that story of my past, I would definitely say my parents, many of my teachers and professors and coaches who not only taught me course content, but important life lessons and who really believed in me. Spiritually, I've had many young life leaders or pastors, my mother in law showing me like just a true prayer warrior, modeling that for me. And then relationally, I have some of the best friends, some of them that I've had since my childhood. And my husband, who is also just an incredible man and super supportive, that I believe without any of them, I wouldn't be who I am today, because they are really by my side doing real life together. And it has really just enforced to me that who you surround yourself with in life is such an important piece and so essential.
So let me ask you this. How do you balance all of this out between being a writer, setting up the school, helping people? I know personally, my son's on the spectrum, and he had a speech therapist as early part of his life, and it was enough for me to pull her aside at one point. He was really young, and I was like, "Is he ever going to speak?" And she was
Mm,
like, "Don't worry, it's gonna happen," because I just couldn't
wow.
see it. And now he's like the Inquisitor. He will ask everybody a billion questions. He is a great talker. So
Oh, I love that.
yeah, so
It's
I
so
know
great.
it
Love those
is.
stories.
It's like I always have to remind myself of that sometimes when there's so
Yeah.
much so much talking going on. Like there was a point where I was like I didn't know if this was going to happen because he did sign language and there was all of these approximations for so
Mhm.
long. So I know how
Mhm.
that world can be and how much therapists have to take on. So ultimately, what wakes you up every day to balance all of those out and do it the best of your ability?
Oh man. Well, jokingly, I have to get up that I don't my either my husband or my kids or my dogs,
Yeah.
somebody's gonna get me up out of
Uh-huh.
bed, right?
I
But
get it.
no, I think seriously though, it's just that I think it's just the sentiment that I'm not done. As long as I am still here and breathing and taking up space here on earth, I just truly believe I have work to do. And it's my time to give back and to encourage others and to bring hope and good news to the dark places. Just continue to personally grow in my own process. So, yeah, I think it really is just the desire to live life to the fullest. And that's definitely not going to happen by staying in bed.
Yeah.
So,
It's not. So let's say you were to walk into a room of everybody that knows you from kind of your therapeutic life or business world, and you walk up to the podium in front of all of those people and you can tell them one fun story, one fun adventure, one fun factoid that would humanize you a little bit more to them. What would you tell that room of people?
oh man, I could have so many stories. But I don't know. I guess fun, funny. I can tell you a funny one.
Yeah.
Probably, I guess that fits into like, even though I love being outdoors and adventuring, like for some reason, am a huge magnet for bugs.
Uh-oh.
And whether it's mosquitoes, horseflies, spiders, especially those three categories, I just get attacked and bitten. And I have so many stories of what has happened to me out in the wilderness.
Yeah.
But like this one story in particular, out of all of those, probably my phobia the most is spiders.
Yeah.
Because when I was younger, we moved from like our childhood house that my dad had built and moved to this lake house. And I think I was around the eighth grade. And when we were just touring this house to see, it needed some cleanup. It was, some older parts. And, anyways, I go down into this boy's room and he had like big blown up dragons and different things hanging. And there was like this huge spider up on the wall. And I was like, that's a gross decoration until it moved. And I realized that is real. Like that is a real spider.
Oh no.
And so I was terrified to move into this, like the transition of moving into this house. And I think I must have just associated that with spiders. And then the spiders, that ended up being my bedroom too, by the way, that
Oh, oh no.
they would like come up from the lake or something. I don't know, but I undoubtedly always had spiders in my room. And my dad like has this ongoing joke even now, like our house has been clear of spiders. You've been gone. You come and visit and I have to go down there and get another spider for you. Like they just come when you're here. But I remember in college I had this party to celebrate the end of the year with some of my housemates. And they all came over and were enjoying the lake. And we decided to get down on the dock and have a big group picture. And so we're all on the dock. And because so many of us are there and in one spot, the dock starts to sink a little bit.
Oh no.
And so the water, starts to come up. And lo and behold, all these spiders start coming up through the cracks of the dock and all over. And I look down and they're like crawling up people's legs.
No.
And, just everybody's reactions. Like some people either start running up the opposite direction, some just jump into the lake. Like it's just chaos.
Oh, no.
Spiders everywhere.
Oh no.
Yeah. And anyways, it was horrifying.
I remember when I was in high school, I went and saw Arachnophobia in a movie
Oh my
theater that was
gosh.
more urban. So people were jumping up, yelling "No way" and screaming at the screen. I remember that movie. Did you ever watch that?
I did.
Okay, all right.
Right.
I was curious.
I
That was
did, but I think it was before my time of like really being
I
traumatized by
gotcha
spiders.
because it wouldn't happen after that. No
No,
way. No
no
way.
way.
Man. So let me ask you this. Of everything that you've accomplished up to this point in your life, what are you ultimately the proudest of?
Ugh. This this is a really hard question for me because I honestly don't often feel proud or stop to celebrate an accomplishment of a goal. I think I just automatically like I'm ready to move on
Yeah.
and think about what's next.
Yep.
Um, so it's probably only because of the cheerleaders in my life that I can even attempt this question. Honestly, I think probably it's growing to believe that God can use little old imperfect me to make a positive impact during my small little blip of time here on earth.
Yeah.
Believing that my life is significant and purposeful and realizing that God invites and guides me into living an extraordinary life and that this has allowed me to be involved in some pretty epic things
Yeah.
that are undoubtedly in my challenging, uncomfortable spaces. And so I'm proud of saying yes to those things, to truly seizing the opportunities like this, and that I haven't let my limitations or my inadequacies or worries or fears overrule and shut me down. And that I've modeled this for my kids, that again we can do hard things, just like going back to that COVID discussion.
Yeah. So everyone has a perception of you out there, family, friends, clients, everyone that gets your book, everyone that knows you in different capacities, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I think I'm just a girl running my unique race in this and on this beautiful transforming journey of life. um yeah, I guess if I have to summarize myself in one word, I'd say it's where part of my website originates. That's the word devoted. Just that I'm loyal to the people around me. I'm dedicated to various endeavors. Um, in my life, and I'm definitely not perfect and continuously learning and how to fully embrace this journey, this process of life, while just giving my all, in everything that I do, just laying it all out there.
So, as an adventurer, a seasoned traveler, what's one of the most magical, unexpectedly magical places you've been to?
Well, Iceland, definitely,
Yeah.
like I'd already talked about. Um, I guess the other one that was unexpected for me was my friend um, invited me to go with her to Peru. She wanted to do a trek to hike to Machu Picchu,
Uh-huh.
and it had never been on my radar to do something like that. But then as I looked, she knew who to call. She knew who would be like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And that's another one that I am so glad that I said yes to it and we figured it out with our family. Again, grateful I have a super supportive husband, who lets me, helps make it work around the house to be able to do something like that. But we did a 7-day trek and did the Salkantay trek and then made our way to the Inca Trail to eventually end at Machu Picchu. So it was all guided, but all camping out there in nature along the way. And it was an incredible experience.
I cut my finger really bad during the pandemic, probably like late March, and I remember going to the ER, and my wife was really worried. I'm like, this is going to be the safest place for me to go to. I'm going to a hospital. And I remember getting in there, and the ER doc was really upset. I was asking him about the pandemic because no one really knew how COVID was biologically going through the population.
Mm-hmm.
And I will never forget, he was really bummed out because he was getting ready to go to Peru. Literally, the flight
Oh,
within a week of that, he was going to climb Machu Picchu, and he was so upset. And I remember that, and it's like I will
oh
never
my
forget that moment.
gosh.
The good
I
thing
hope
about
he was able to reschedule and go
yeah,
back.
I have no doubt. He was a hardcore guy, so there was nothing that was going to hold him back. And I'm surprised that even the
Good.
pandemic did.
Yeah.
But he was, he explained to me that it was really kind of people that weren't healthy and the elderly to worry about. He really did kind of open my eyes up to what was going on at that point. So, but yeah, I do hope he got back there. So let me ask you this: if anyone wants to pick up your book, they want to reach out, they want to learn more, get involved with anything, any of the good business in your world, where do they go?
Yeah. So my website is devotedexplorer.com. And I share all kinds of faith, fitness, and travel stuff on the website. And there's a link to my book on there too. Or if they're interested in learning more about my book too, it's on Amazon. So they can look up Dormant Faith with by Kari Hunnicutt and can find that on Amazon too.
Excellent. I will put that in the show notes. Kari, it's wonderful to
Great,
meet you.
thank you.
Thank you so much for your story.
Thank you so much for having me. You have such deep introspective questions. So these are good for everybody to process and ponder. So thank you for this
Yeah,
time and this opportunity.
you bet. Yeah, it's been wonderful, and you have such a wonderful journey. I love what you're doing, so thank you so much. Hello, friends. Joe Dimino here. I just wanted to let you know that after 30 years or so, I have finally released my first book of poetry through the mighty Spartan Press here in Kansas City, Missouri. As the creator and host of both Neon Jazz Radio and the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino podcast, along with being a visual artist, I'm ready to embark on a new adventure and want you to be a part of it. You can get a copy online via Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and actually on the streets in Kansas City at the great Prospero's bookstore off 39th Street. You can also visit joedimino.com for links to the book, to more poetry, and everything in my world, including paintings. Thanks for all of the love and support over the years, and please dig the words.